Greetings and welcome to our show, Fresh Geek Context. This is a podcast where we routinely discuss insightful views on a bi-weekly basis over the incredibly nerdy things we cannot stop talking about. To take you on this dorky ride are your host Josh.
Hola.
And myself Chase, so why don't you take a seat, sit back, relax, we're here to do all the heavy lifting. It's about to get nerdy. This is episode 2.
Sony and Apple conference updates.
That's right, September 7th, jam-packed day. Apple went on stage at the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium, revealed new Apple products including the iPhone 7, Apple Watch Series 2, iOS 10, amongst other things. A few hours later, Sony held their conference in New York City. The long-rumored PlayStation Neo is actually called the PlayStation Pro.
Yeah, and it sounds exactly like an Apple product. Look out for the PlayStation Air and the PlayStation Retina next time.
Yeah, so let's just get right into it because this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about Apple after we talk about Sony. So we both watched the conference. We watched the keynote. You watched the conference. You watched the Sony conference a lot more than I did because I caught the tail end of it. I watched the Apple keynote with great excitement because I had been anticipating this announcement for quite some time. Because it's time for me to upgrade because, that's usually how it works. Usually. So let's get into it. Josh, you watched that Sony conference. I know there's a lot of things that you want to tell me about, but I have questions.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure as I ask these questions, a lot of these things will be revealed.
More than likely.
So these are some of the questions I want to ask you.
Sure.
Okay. They announced a PlayStation 4 Pro, a PS4 Pro.
Yep.
I'm going to ask this question because I know a lot of other people are probably asking this question as well. What is a PS4 Pro?
Well, a PS4 Pro is a traditional PlayStation 4, which you and I both own right now.
Correct.
And about, I don't know, give or take 40 million people around the globe own one currently.
Is it 40 million right now?
Yeah, I believe there are over 40 million units sold at this point, so it's a pretty big deal.
Okay.
So the PlayStation 4 Pro, it's a high-end version of that same console we have already.
Okay.
What it does now, however, which gives it the Pro name, is that it does 4K graphics and 4K streaming as well as HDR support. So what that means is that there's smoother, more stable frame rates for games, and then of course you have a lot better textures and you have that 4K capability.
Okay. Now, I guess this leads to my second question, which is why do I care about any of these things? And I don't mean to be blunt, but it's not a next generation PlayStation. Am I correct?
It is not. You can call this kind of like going back to the Apple, similarities here. You can kind of call this like a PS4S almost, how they have like the iPhone 6, the iPhone 6S, now with the 7. Kind of the same deal here. They have the PlayStation 4, and then this is kind of like the PS4S. So it's kind of like a in-between upgrade. And with it, if you care about these type of things, if you care about having, the latest, greatest, this machine is that for gaming right now. So it's the latest, greatest that you can get. So you can output 4K, which is, growing exponentially. Sony knows that this is the future of console gaming because we got 1080p in the, older generation consoles. Now we're going to start to see 4K. Now, whether you care about it, that's up to you, personally. Me, I'm kind of excited for this because I know where this is going to lead in the future. I know where I want it to lead in the future. But this is also great for developers more than anything because now they'll be able to create, better, richer, more detailed worlds that they can give us. And that's amazing for us in the back end because if the developers are happy and they're able to get their creativity out there a lot better, it's, amazing for us because then now we get to play in these worlds and be in those worlds. And I can't wait to see what they come up with this guy.
So that leads me to Mike, another question that you just said. You said that this is really more for developers and looking towards the future. What does the future look like in your eyes? Because I don't know, honestly. I mean, I saw this and I just see what I've always kind of seen, which is you announce a system and then you announce the same system with some changes, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So what is the future then?
So in my eyes, the future is going to be not just about making the games look great and making the games have better frame rates that everyone cares about and stuff like that.
That's what I care about personally.
Yeah, but the thing is as well, the games are games first. Like you have to have good gameplay in order to have good games. And I feel with a better system that'll support 4K streaming and 4K video, that yeah they'll be able to focus on the graphics, which of course games look beautiful now. Imagine them in 4K. But I also feel with that extra power boost that they have in the machine, because it has 4K capability, that we can also get better gameplay out of it. So I'm hoping that there are developers out there, even whether they're indie, whether they're the big guys, either one of them can kind of tap into that power, not just for graphics' sake, but for challenging gameplay tweaks and things of that nature.
So you're telling me that like the gameplay in general, the immersive kind of, you feel like you are playing a wonderful kind of game, is going to be improved because of the foundation that they're putting in this PS4 Pro. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's what I'm hoping, at least. I mean, on the surface, of course, it's graphics, graphics, graphics. But me personally, I feel like it's the gameplay and the core elements of that game that makes it better. Like, I take a look at the old games on the NES, right? But way back when.
Right.
The games, obviously, they're 8-bit. They don't look that great at all anymore. But there's a reason we still go back to them, right? Because their gameplay in them is just so great, so fun. And that's what I'm hoping we kind of go back to.
Well, I think you might be asking for a lot there.
I may be.
At the same time, I mean, you bring something interesting, right? You're bringing up the NES. In a previous podcast, we talked about like the Sega Genesis and how much fun that was. Super Nintendo, N64. There was a shift that happened from then to now, where these systems are released and then they're re-released, right? And it looks like this is what's happening again, and it looks like this is what's going to be happening for the foreseeable future. What you or many other people may perceive to be, an upgrade to gaming and the core entertainment experience, I see it as this seems to be something where we're going to re-release something that we already had, but it's going to be at a much cheaper cost, so we get more people on. That's typically what I'm seeing in the past, and that's what I'm anticipating is happening right now for this release.
Well, yes and no. So in this particular case with the PS4 Pro, Sony, alongside this, also announced a PS4 Slim, and that's kind of that re-release that you're talking about.
Interesting. Okay.
PlayStation 4 Pro is, like I said, it's kind of meant to be like the S model of the iPhone.
Okay.
It's supposed to be like a 0.5 update, kind of. Whereas the Slim is that re-release you're talking about, which, again, does cost less, and, can be purchased a lot cheaper than this model. This model is actually $100 more than the current, PlayStation 4 Slim.
Wait, so that's interesting because I didn't know that, and I'm glad you brought that up. You're telling me that they've released two systems after the PS4. There's the PS4 Slim and the PS4 Pro, but the Pro, which is what we're talking about, doesn't go down in price, and it doesn't remain the same. It goes up in price.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. This is new territory. I like where this is going. Okay.
Yeah.
So I now have more questions because now the questions that I'm asking, I was under the impression that the PS4 Pro was similar to how Sony has typically have done it through the years when they released their first PlayStation, the original one. They did the PS1. That was a new system. And then the PlayStation 2 came out, and then there was the PS2 Slim, which I missed by like a day outside of my 14-day return policy when I bought it at Best Buy. That was an angry day for me, but that's done now. Okay. And then the PlayStation 3, that hunking machine.
I love that machine.
Yes, but what was the price for that machine?
Oh, that famous number of $599.
That, I felt like you just stabbed me again. Like
I know. Just hearing it
just
again, you're just like, oh, really? It was that?
yeah. I mean, I could buy that now on eBay for like $100. No big deal at all. But
Oh, can you find me one of those? I've been wanting to get the original one back.
I mean, I don't know. We'd have to look. But I can't be that expensive, right?
The Pro?
No, the PlayStation 3, like that $100 one.
I mean, I maybe. I mean, it's the original PlayStation 3. That guy was capable of playing PlayStation 1, PS2, and PS3 games.
You're right. You're right. I totally forgot that it had that one ability to go backwards compatible all the
Yeah,
way.
that was literally the one system to rule them all. I mean, it had a system that played 3 generations of games,
Yeah.
and they took that away.
And Sony got
Jerks.
wise.
Exactly. They were like, "This is too much fun with one console. We need to stop this."
They sold themselves short. I think they had something going there. But
Yeah.
so now, okay, so this is new territory now. My next question for you is: will my games run smoother on the Pro, and will it affect my games if I ever decided to play online? I say this very carefully because for the listeners that are out there that are listening to us, I come from I don't want to sound like I'm dating myself, but I come from the 80s and the 90s where a game system was just a game system. You plugged it into your television, you bought the game, and you played the game, right? You played it all the way until it was done. And if you had the functionality to plug in another controller, like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter or Streets of Rage or whatever street game that you're kind of fighting in a back alley, you know, the those games were played co-op. You played a two-player game, and at the very most, you may have had maybe 4 people if you had an N64. I don't like this new online gaming. I think it's very aggressive. I think it's messy. There's a lot going on, and it depends on my internet connection. So I'm not a big fan of that.
I feel like you're just sour because you keep getting pwned by other noobs out there.
No, that's not true. And here's the reason why. I don't want to be yelled at a kid that doesn't speak English when I'm trying to have fun. Like, I don't find that fun. Because it has nothing to do with how good or bad I am. Because as a matter of fact, if I were really good, they'd still be yelling at me and cursing. And it's not like I don't like bad words. I just, when I'm in front of my television and I have a game controller in my hand, I am ready to disconnect. You know what I mean? I just feel like I have to be constantly on if I'm playing online. It's too much.
Yeah, it depends on who you run with. Like if you run with a group of friends, it's super fun. Like me, I play Destiny a lot. Hopefully, some of our listeners know what Destiny is. It's a really really fun game on PlayStation 4, and you can also get it on PS3 if you still have that, or Xbox One. But you get a group of 6 people together, and it's a group of your friends, not random people. Online can be so much fun. It depends on people around you. If you play with random strangers, though, yeah, you're probably not going to have a fun time.
It's probably going to be like the Wild West.
Big Willie style?
Big Willie style, absolutely. Will my games run smoother on the Pro, and will it affect my games if I decided to play online?
So, yes, the games will run smoother. Developers do have to push updates to the current line of games, however. So, let's take Uncharted 4, for example. Naughty Dog will be pushing an update to that game, and once you receive the update on the PlayStation Pro, the game will run smoother. It will stream smoother. As for your online experience, that'll kind of happen the same. Probably better frame rates. It'll run a little bit smoother there.
Okay.
But that's again still based on your internet connection.
Okay. So here's my next question then.
Yep.
Will there be exclusives to the PS4 Pro?
That is a very good question. So, myself, as well as the hundreds of thousands upon millions of people on the internet, were very curious about this question. Would Sony actually go out and say, hey, we're only going to make certain games for this model and this model only? And again, that's to the 40 million plus PlayStation owners that are already out there. Luckily, their answer was no.
Oh, good.
So there is not going to be any type of exclusivity of games for this console.
Oh, that's fantastic news.
Oh, yeah, no, trust me, my heart almost skipped a beat if they would have said yes. I would have just dropped dead.
Okay.
But yes, there are no exclusive games to this system. Any game that comes out for the traditional PlayStation 4 will also come out for the Pro, and vice versa, of course.
Okay, that's good because I was concerned. I really was, because the way that they were announcing I did. I mean, honestly, I didn't even realize that there was a Slim up until you told me about maybe 5 minutes ago.
Yep.
I thought it was just the PS because that's what everyone's been talking about. Everyone's been talking about the PS4 Pro. It's a tongue twister, and I have to get used to saying this. The PS4 Pro is what people have been talking about.
Correct. That was the big announcement of it. The Slim was kind of like a little tidbit. It was like, oh, by the way, we also got a Slim, but here's the Pro.
Right. And so my eyes and my attention has been focused in on that and what its capabilities is. And again, why would I care? I suppose I do care now knowing that it is truly like an upgrade to my previous questions, but it's I guess now I keep saying this that it hinges on this question, and then I ask 3 more questions.
Of course.
But this question is really important.
Okay. Bring it.
Will this PS4 to the Pro play 4K Blu-rays?
2 things. Not acknowledging that you said to the Pro. First thing, because I'm not acknowledging the first thing.
But you just did.
I have no idea what you're talking about. The PS4 Pro, to the Pro, as you say.
To the Pro.
To the Pro.
To the Pro.
Actually will not play 4K Blu-rays, which is very odd to me.
What?
Yeah, I was very, very surprised. And they didn't even say this at the conference. This was a question that was given to one of the executives after the conference, like when they go, check out the console after everything. They were asked, hey, so, will this also support 4K Blu-rays? And they were just like, yeah, no, not at all. Not going to do it.
I wish there was a camera on me that caught my expression because I am legitimately confused.
Yeah, you would think the company that kind of pushed Blu-ray onto everyone would support 4K Blu-ray on their own console.
I suppose they don't have to now because they're not actually in a digital war.
Oh, the digital war. Wow, you just brought me back with that one.
Pause for a second, you and I, Josh.
Time out.
So, for our listeners out there, the digital wars that we're referring to was not an actual cyber attack war that our country in the United States dealt with another country.
Have you been on NeoGAF? Because they say things differently.
They do, but I had to give context because that's what this podcast is all about, right?
Ew.
I had to give context. I had to give context to the people who are listening that have no idea what I'm talking about. For those who are listening that are not in the know of what the digital wars that I'm referring to, around the year 2006 to 2007, there was a digital war, and in translation, the digital war was a platform war between 2 companies. And the 2 companies that were going head-to-head at this time was Microsoft, who was responsible for making the Xbox 360 at that time, and PlayStation 3, which was Sony. Now, these 2 had made their systems, but there was a very interesting bit of technology that was on the inside that those 2 companies were warring against, and that was media. Now, this is very similar, if we go back even further to about the 80s. Everyone remembers VHS tapes, but VHS tapes had its own platform war at that time. Now, that platform war was VHS tapes versus Betamax.
Oh, the Betamax.
Right. Which is hilarious because no one really remembers Betamax. And that was, the VHS tape format won. And then after that, it became DVDs, because that was the future. And then after DVDs, because I thought that you really couldn't get any better than DVDs, guess what? They proved me wrong. But it was unorganized. It was messy, right? Because Microsoft had pioneered this new technology for HD DVD, and Sony pioneered this new technology for Blu-ray, which was, Josh, you remember this very clearly, because I know I was pretty pissed.
Very clearly. And the funny thing was, you hear the words HD DVD, and automatically you're like, oh, well, DVD's good, right? So HD DVD should be better, right? So it kind of tricks you into thinking, oh yeah, this one's better. And then you hear the word Blu-ray, and you're like, what the heck
Right.
is a Blu-ray? But then you kind of go down to like the quality and the frame rates and everything like that. Again, kind of what we're talking about with this 4K
Right.
PS4 Pro. But this time, that actually mattered. And the Blu-rays were a lot crisper, a lot clearer, and it just generally looked better than HD DVD. So when you
Correct.
looked at them side by side, you can clearly tell that Blu-ray was the superior format at that point.
But interesting little note was HD DVD, the cost efficiency for that company to create HD DVDs was cheaper, but the quality was much better in Blu-ray. Now, more information. Sony wasn't doing so hot around this time, and I'm pretty sure their entire system hinged on the success of this platform war. But everybody else that had been buying movies, like me, had to stop buying movies because what ended up happening was these two companies would petition for, you know, for media and, companies like Columbia Pictures and 20th Century Fox and Universal. They wanted their movies that they had released in theaters to come out onto their platform. So there were a certain set of movies that were coming out for HD DVD, and there was another set that was coming out for Blu-ray. Now me was stuck in the middle, not knowing which one to buy, because I couldn't afford an HD DVD player, and I didn't want an Xbox One. You had told me this sometime recently, Josh. You said that was what was the price for the Blu-ray player for Sony at that time?
Well, the cheapest Blu-ray player at that time was the PlayStation 3. That was the absolute cheapest Blu-ray player. So that $5.99 still hits me in the heart. Was the cheapest Blu-ray player. Blu-ray players at that time were like in the very, very high $700-800 range.
That is insane. I can't.
Yeah, and you can get a Blu-ray player now for like what, maybe $50, $60.
It's.
I'm sure.
I mean, this is what happens when you're an early adopter. I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
they take advantage of you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I had to stop buying movies essentially and just be miserable. It's essentially Betamax all over again, which was hilarious because my dad will sometimes bring up Betamax and he always grumbles and shakes his head. I never really understood what he meant, but now I totally do.
You want to know what's funny about that? Do you know who created Betamax?
No.
Sony.
No.
Yep.
Are you serious?
Yep.
You're kidding me.
That was totally Sony.
Wow.
So they just really like to, get in people's faces with platform wars.
I'm shocked. I wasn't actually not expecting you to say that at all.
History repeats itself, right?
So Sony is just responsible for declaring war on everybody.
Pretty much. They're just like, we want our format to be the best. Rah, rah, rah.
Ha ha ha. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we just learned something new. Sony can just like not declare war on everybody. They need to be the best out of everybody, which is funny because we're actually going to be talking about a company that needs to be the best in everything.
Oh, all the things.
Okay, so in summary, because I don't have any other questions. I don't know if you had any questions about Sony's announcement or any strange things that I need to be mindful of.
Not really, but let's wrap this guy up. So I'll just do a little quick summary, if you will.
Let's do the summary.
Yeah.
Sure.
So yes. So once again, Sony had this conference. They announced the PlayStation 4 Pro. It will be coming out this November, so this year, for $399, and you can buy it for the U.S. and in the UK, I believe, as well, and then they may be announcing more countries after the fact. However, the final statement I have really on the PlayStation 4 Pro, if you have a PlayStation 4 currently, I would say you don't need to get this system unless you really, really care about 4K. But again, you're not going to be able to play 4K Blu-ray, as we just mentioned. If that's something that you really care about and you really care about having the absolute highest end graphic capabilities, this machine's for you. If you don't care about that, then you already have a PS4, then I would say you don't have to worry about it. It's not going to go ahead and do more for you than the PlayStation 4 that you own right now does. So I would say, don't grab it if you already have a PS4. Me personally, I already have my PS4, like we mentioned earlier, and I'm not getting it at all.
I'm certainly not. I can tell you that right now. You just said a very interesting word that brought me back to the digital war of 2006. You said upscaler, so that's essentially what this PS4 Pro is to me. It is a very expensive PlayStation 4 upscaler for 4K.
Yep, pretty much.
Okay. So for everybody that's listening out there, Josh and I are not buying this. You can if you want to. We're not, discouraging you from doing this.
Yeah, we're not going to judge you at all. Although I probably am a little bit, but I'm not going to.
I mean, you don't have to. It's really the question of your dollar bills that exist in your wallet is point A. Is this PS4 going to be worthy enough of a trip to go from point A to point B, which is, the owners of the people that are making the PS4? My dollar bills will stay at point A.
Mine as well.
But I'm sure a lot of people will want to have their little dollar bills take that trip across the street.
Probably, although mine will probably go to option C, which we'll get to in a few moments.
Okay, yeah, we were going to talk all about that. So, but before we break, we actually have an announcement. We have our very first giveaway. We'll announce this here and on Twitter. Captain America Civil War was released this past week. It was one of the most successful movies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far, and of all of 2016. 2016 we're currently in September. We're about to wrap up September. We got a couple of more months. Who knows? There could be one that's more prolific than anything else that we've seen so far, but we've had a lot. But in any case, we want to give away a free digital copy of Captain America Civil War, which can be redeemed on iTunes.
But in order to win, there's a trivia question you guys got to answer. Yeah, we're going to make you use your brains. So, Doctor Strange is coming up this November, another Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. And to prepare for that, we're going to ask a relevant trivia question towards it. So, guys, get your brains thinking here. Or you can Google, either one. I'll probably Google it, honestly, because, I don't have the answer to this question either. Heyo.
Leave it to chance.
Exactly. All right. YOLO, right? Do people still say that?
Yeah. No, they don't.
They don't? All right. I'm bringing it back. YOLO.
All right. Bring it back.
All right, guys. So, which of the following characters is not an ally of Doctor Strange? Is it Doctor Doom? Is it Omnipotent Oster? Is it Agamotto the All-Seeing? Or is it Hori Hogath?
That's. I actually don't know the answer to this one.
I really don't either. That's why I'm asking all of you. This is actually on my midterm next week, so I need to know. And I'm hoping that the internet can help me with this.
Somebody please help Josh. Okay, guys, tweet us your answer.
Guys, I'm gonna fail if you don't help me.
Guys, tweet us your answer, and if you don't know our Twitter handle, contact information is going to be at the end of this episode. We'll see you in a little bit.
All right, we'll see you in a bit. Please help me pass.
Welcome back to the FGC podcast. We're going to visit the fruit stand now.
Wait, I need money.
Not that fruit stand.
We need clarity then.
On what?
The fruit stand. It's time. It's learning time.
The featured definition of this podcast is Apple. Apple is a company that was the brainchild of a man named Steve Jobs. It was created in 1976 and its primary purpose was to make computers accessible to everyone. Prior to the start of the company, the computer giant Intel was the face of computers, and boy, it wasn't pretty.
Just imagine the size of your local GameStop from front to back filled with giant, unsightly humming towers from the floor to the ceiling. And that's it. No screens, no user interface, no cursor. At the time, there was a small keyboard that would allow you to enter commands to solve a mathematical equation, but that's about it.
Steve Jobs, with his close friend Steve Wozniak, built the Apple I, and it was originally marketed to computer hobbyists.
Hobbyist today's version of your local high school math club. Lots of fun, not really for everyone.
After the success and buzz came, Jobs quickly hired a team of people to work on the next project called the Apple II. It was only at this time the concept of having a screen that came with the computer came into being. Many balked at the idea, but this was for the common user. A platform was created, and more importantly, it inspired others to make headway into the market. Things like the mouse, graphical user interface, the desktop all came from this one company.
But it didn't stop there. After some minor changes in the executive team at Apple, Jobs was asked to leave.
What the what?
That's true. Jobs was fired from the company he started.
Ouch.
Talk about a
failure.
After that, he started his own company called Next.
Way to stick it to the man.
And then Apple ended up buying Next, so Jobs' new company and his tech and his team came right back to Apple.
That's when things started getting interesting. After he came back, the pieces came together and he became CEO. Again, for Jobs' next feat, it wasn't a brand new shiny computer, it was a brand new shiny music player called the iPod. Many balked at the idea of Apple making a music player.
But people balked outside of Apple in general.
The company revitalized and revolutionized the music industry and breathed life back into Apple. The company's next crazy move was creating a widescreen iPod that just so happened to be a phone affectionately called the iPhone. Apple is now called a giant slayer, and they are making money hand over fist.
After that, Apple made the Apple TV, the iPad, Apple Watch, and software that works beautifully on their products, which is their significant advantage over their competitors.
Another significant trademark of Apple is their presentation style. Their keynotes are nothing short of legendary. Best believe when Apple steps up to the podium, mics will be dropped, and so will Jaws.
Wait, Jaws? Like the movie?
No, people's Jaws, that's what I mean. Okay, so let's talk. Apple has announced officially the iPhone 7. They also announced the Apple Watch Series 2 and AirPods. Now, I haven't seen the device yet, but naturally people are losing their minds, right? Because Apple has the ability of tapping into the mind thread of human consciousness. And I'm fairly certain that's a scary place. Now, I'm pretty serious about this, Josh. Do you remember the Nintendo GameCube?
Sure. It was a cube, and it played games.
Yes. Okay. Now, do you remember the controller?
The thing that I, to this day, look at and I'm like, why are there so many buttons, and why does this feel weird?
No. Think about it. It looks weird, but it felt amazing.
To each their own.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I just learned something new about you. Okay. So do you remember the N64?
Yes, and actually I've been playing the N64 lately.
What have you been playing?
So this is for another day, but I have never fully completed Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Interesting.
Yeah, so a friend of mine, we've been going back and we started playing it from the beginning on an N64, and it's a pretty amazing game, which more than enough people out there know. If you're listening, I'm sure you've played this game before.
Of course.
But if you haven't, do yourself a favor, play this game. It is amazing. It is a precursor to so many different games that we play today.
I have OpenEMU, and I have not downloaded the Ocarina of Time for my Mac, but it's definitely one game I do need to revisit.
Now that you mention it, I also have OpenEMU. The only thing I have on there right now is Pokemon. You just reminded me. I can definitely do N64 games. Not only am I probably going to do Legend of Zelda, but I am probably also going to do Banjo-Kazooie.
Ah, okay. There we go. We have a lot of homework to do.
Yeah.
For everyone who's listening, OpenEMU is a wonderful free program that you can download to your computer. It's really optimized for the Mac. I'm pretty sure you can download it for PC too. But you can download it to your Mac, and it's very easy for you to download games from your childhood, Atari, Nintendo, Sega Genesis, even like PlayStation games and N64. So those are the games that we're talking about.
Keep in mind, we do not condone piracy.
We don't, but it's out there. Anyways, so yeah, talking about the N64 controller, that was a bigger WTF moment, right? But not every kid lost their mind when they saw the controller. They just kind of went in with this bravado and this courage to just say, Mario's not going to play itself, so we're going to use this controller, right?
For sure.
But that does not happen with Apple. Like when Apple changes something inside the iPhone, or they change something inside the software or the Mac, they are met with rage.
A lot of internet trolls, a lot of press people, everybody just goes right at them. It's like open season.
It's It's bad, dude. It's really bad. I mean, I noticed that it starts with. I don't. I mean, maybe you can answer this for me. Does it start with the tech reviewers, or does it start with the people kind of like grumbling, and then the tech reviewers kind of like answer for them?
I'm sure it starts with the people that, go on the forums and talk about this stuff when they're in the rumors essentially. And then once those
Mm-hmm.
rumors become fact and made clear by Apple, then at that
Mm-hmm.
point their voices get way louder, and then of course the tech press takes it from there because they know that's something that's been going on and they know that that's something that people are talking about. So that's the points that they're going to start looking at.
Mm, okay. All right. So you and I are no strangers to this because we are very familiar with the products that Apple has come out in the past, and they look forward to do these things. Right? They got rid of the floppy drive on the Mac way back when. People lost their minds then because they felt like they were removing an essential part of their life, when in reality that medium was dying. That people were not using floppy drives back in its heydays in the
Correct.
90s, and it happened again with the CD-ROM drive, the optical drive as they call it, that also plays DVDs. They removed that from at that time the new MacBook Air. I remember that specifically. I remember walking into the store and just talking with people near the tables, and they would just, their body language was very clear, right? They would fold their arms and they would face the original MacBook Pro with the CD-ROM drive, and they're like, "Forget that machine, f that machine." And I'm like, "But why though?" As a customer, I would just ask people this, and just people were just so upset by Apple's decision to remove it. But fast forward, you know, 7 years, nobody's using CD-ROMs anymore. Nobody's using DVDs as much as they used to anyway. And now they've done it again. So we're going to talk a little bit about the specific features that have been introduced into the iPhone 7. Okay, but we're also going to talk about what people are miffed about.
Very
Right,
miffed.
very miffed. Right. So AirPods. AirPods is a new product that's come from Apple. Essentially, what they've done, in layman's terms, is they took the regular earpods that everyone's very used to, that kind of crumbles up and turns into a knot in your pocket by the little tiny pocket lint trolls,
I really want to know how that happens every
and
time.
for everybody across the planet. I don't
I,
know.
I'm so sure every time I put it in my pocket, they're nice and neat, and they always come out like tangled in 50 different little loops. And I'm like, how does this happen?
Pocket trolls.
Ugh, so weird.
It is, but so Apple has acknowledged that this was a problem for many people, and they decided to make a call. They made a judgment call. They make an executive decision, and they created the AirPods. I'm sorry, and the AirPods are essentially the actual earphones that you put inside your ears, no wires, but it's packed with technology. It apparently has the ability to understand that when you take it out of your ear, music that's playing will stop because it understands contact with the skin, which I think is really cool.
That is really awesome.
Um, it understands that when you're talking to it, so you don't even need to. I think you can tap it and you can say, "Hey Siri," or it understands when you're talking as well.
Correct.
I think that's bananas. I'd love to see that in action. And there's a lot of other technology in there. One specific thing that caught my eye was the W1 chip, which is essentially a new chip that's inside of it that allows you to pair those AirPods to all of your Apple products instantaneously, better than Bluetooth.
That's probably my favorite feature of these AirPods, if I had to pick one. So the way it works, the AirPods are in this case that they come with, and it's also a charging case besides being a
Mm-hmm.
carrying case.
Mm-hmm.
What you do to pair these things is you put it next to your phone. You open the case. They already know that the phone is right next to it, and the phone knows that the AirPods are right next to it. So the phone goes, "Hey, do you want to pair these things?" You just say yes, and they're paired. You bring it to your computer, you open these things next to your computer, same thing. Do you want to pair it? Sure. You bring it to your iPad, do you want to pair it? Sure. Simple, no going to Bluetooth settings, no nothing like that. Very elegant, simple connecting. That is the absolute one feature I love. Because how many times have you wanted to use your Bluetooth headphones? You go to your phone, you're like, oh man, I gotta pair these things real quick. All right, go to Bluetooth, go to settings, pair. All right, cool, they're paired. Now I can listen. But then, you go out on a run, you want to leave your phone behind. You want to use them with your Apple Watch, right? Oh, guess what? You have to unpair it from your phone, pair it to your Apple Watch, and then you're good to go. How long does that take?
It takes forever. So you may or may not know this, but I have never been a fan of Bluetooth technology. I have not been. I could care less for it. I just think it always could have been better. Maybe this W1 chip might be the thing that kind of, seals the deal for me. Now, as of this recording, we haven't tried it. Obviously, we're just talking about, the product page that's on Apple.com and the keynote that's available in multiple venues. I mean, you can see it on Facebook, you can see it on YouTube, you can see it on Apple.com, you can see it pretty much anywhere. Um, but I would love to try this out because I think this is something subconsciously that I've been asking for years now. Because Bluetooth, at the very start when it first came out, was a battery drainer, and that frustrated me to no end. But those are the AirPods. Moving right along, in tandem, some other things that people are miffed about. No headphone jack, which is, I mean, honestly, this is something that, just people are like ready to bring out the pitchforks.
Yeah, it's insane how mad people are right about this right now.
I mean, they would bring out, fire on a stick.
And you know what? We're going to be talking about this for a little bit, so
We are.
I
We absolutely are.
I understand. I get why people would be upset, right? You're used to having this port on every single device you own. You can take your favorite pair of headphones. Me, I use my earpods. Before that, I used to use the iPod headphones that came with the phones. So I'm one of those people. I use the headphone jack all the time on my phone. However, I am totally going to get an iPhone 7 with or without the headphone jack. Now, I'm pretty sure there's going to be one little thing that's going to bug me every night, and we'll get to that little point in a little bit.
I already know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but overall, I have no problem with this because, again, going back to what you said in the beginning, they had the courage to say, hey, you know what? This floppy disk, it's old technology. We need to move on from this. So they got rid of it. They went with the CD drive. They went, hey, this is cool. Everything's going to be streaming from now on, though. So this is old technology. We need to get rid of it. Everything's moving to either digital or you can use like a external hard drive or thumb drives, whatever. So this has got to get out of here. And they did the same thing with the Lightning port back with the iPhone 5. When the Lightning port came out, people were in uproar because every single device before that had the 30-pin connector. So everybody was like, oh, you're going to make me buy new chargers, you're going to make me do this, you're going to make me do that. And that wasn't that long ago. The iPhone 5 came out in 2011. We're in 2016.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
Now, between 2011, when people were in uproar about changing the connector, to today, does anybody care about the 30-pin? No.
So I've actually did a little bit of a test. From my history and my love for this specific company, I've calculated carefully, if you will,
Sure.
that there's a period of complaining for about 2.5 to 3 months. After the 3 months, nobody complains anymore.
Right, because everyone bought the product and they're like, oh wait, this is actually pretty cool.
Well, I mean, I just don't understand. If you think about it, the 30-pin connector to the Lightning cable, it was slightly frustrating at first, but all you need is one converter, one adapter, and that's it.
Right.
Now, in the iPhone 7, it comes an adapter from Lightning to your analog.
Correct.
So what more do you want?
Well, and that brings me to the one, like I said, one little tiny thing that I will need to get used to. And this is probably the biggest argument for everybody, so which is one of the reasons why I'm bringing it up. The concept is this. Currently, with my iPhone 6s, at night, before I go to bed, I like to, either watch some videos online on YouTube or I'll listen to a podcast, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I have my headphones plugged in, my
Mm-hmm.
earpods, current earpods. But at the same time, since it's pretty late at night, my phone is usually down to about 5-6%.
Mm-hmm.
So while I'm listening or watching the video, don't really want the phone to die, so I have the charger plugged in. So I am charging and listening to headphones at the same time.
Right.
That's something you're not going to be able to do so easily on the iPhone 7
If you have the wired ones.
if you have the wired ones.
I'm
Correct.
I think what Apple might be trying to say to you, friend Josh, is it's time to embrace wireless.
Which is the biggest thing from this. Not only did they announce their AirPods, but then, of course, they announced a bunch of Beats products that are also wireless as well.
And that's the kicker, right? So do I get the AirPods? Because it's not like, I have $30. I can get these new earpods. No, AirPods is like $170
Uh, that is correct. But if you
with
do,
tax.
but if we do a little research, and guess what, guys, we did a little research for you. Price wise, competitively, these AirPods are pretty cheap. If you look at some other wireless headphones, they start in like the 180, 200 range.
Woof.
So competitively, these are pretty greatly priced for wireless headphones. However, they are still pretty expensive. So it's up to you if you want to dish out that cash.
I predict that wireless technology is going to become much more ubiquitous after this launch, and I feel like the prices will drop. It's not going to be immediate. It's probably going to be in a year or so when like other people start to get on board. But here's my ultimate wish. Apple, we keep saying that Apple has courage, and I believe that they do, but I mean the code name that a lot of people like to sometimes throw around is the cojones, right?
Of
Apple
course.
has the cojones to say, "Hey, we're getting rid of this wired stuff," and I'm pretty sure in upcoming years you're not even going to need that lightning port anymore. I'm pretty sure it's going to be wireless charging. It didn't come out this year. It may come out next year. Who knows?
10th
I don't
anniversary.
know. 10th anniversary is coming, so I'm pretty sure big things are coming. But for them to kind of lead and pioneer down this kind of wild territory of wireless and how to make existing technology better and invent their own technology. What I would love for them to do is I would love for them to sell the W1 chip to third party companies and just make it accessible to everyone. Because if everyone were to have that technology and not be proprietary, everyone would say, oh, this is what you need to do in order for you to make wireless easy. I mean, hell, I would create my own headphones if I could. I don't want to, but if I had access to that technology as a third party distributor, other people would get on board. And once other people start getting on board, the prices come down.
Definitely. I mean, by the way, I would buy your headphones if you made them.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. I gotta support you.
Thanks.
But yeah, I mean, essentially, it's gonna happen, right? Not the W1 chip because as much as I would love that to happen, I don't think that particular thing is going to.
I mean, it
But
can. We have a
it can.
we
It
have a
can.
podcast, and the more people listen and people say, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea," get to that suggestion board at apple.com, man.
Yeah, but you know how they are at Apple. They like to keep everything in house.
That,
Sorry. But what you did say is correct. Like I do feel like this is the beginning of, wireless everything, and then this
mm-hmm,
is where wireless is going to start to come down in price.
sure.
More and more people are going to do it, And just like with everything else, they start something and the tech company moves. And if you think that, other companies, they're going to be like, oh, you know what? We're going to support the people that do have headphones and we're going to keep them on there and we're going to go ahead and make commercials saying that, hey, we still have a headphone port. Because that's going to happen, I can guarantee you.
Of course.
But think about back in the day when the first iPhone came out. What was the big thing about that? That it didn't have a keyboard.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
So what did, the other companies do? They touted, hey, guess what? We have a touchscreen phone that's just like the iPhone, but guess what? We have a keyboard and you can use the keyboard. The G1, the original Android phone. Remember, it was a touchscreen phone, was running, the earliest Android, but you could flip the screen up and there was a keyboard underneath there. So that was their thing. They were like, hey, listen, we are doing the touchscreen thing. We're going that route. But we know that there are a lot of people that are upset that the iPhone doesn't have a keyboard. So you know what? We got one. We got you. We got a keyboard right here. Where are the phones with keyboards today?
Gone.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen tomorrow. But eventually, there more than likely will be phones in the future that will not have an audio jack. I can guarantee you.
So, I'm thank you for agreeing with me because sometimes we need to let these people know that complain excessively, right? And these people that complain excessively, they complain excessively for the lack of a headphone jack. They complain for the silliest things in these movies that we love to watch. You talk with them. I certainly talk with them. But this person needs a name. So right now for this episode, I'm naming this person that resists everything. Okay? I'm going to call him Ryan. Because everyone knows a Ryan. And Ryan always complains.
I actually know a real life Ryan that does complain, and this is amazing right now.
Ryan, we're going to call this guy Ryan. Ryan doesn't like that the headphone jack is gone. So, you need to listen up, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan.
Not your friend.
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to talk to him tomorrow anyway and just be like, hey, Ryan, I don't like you anymore. He's going to be like, what? What did I do?
Wait. Did Ryan actually complain about this?
Oh, yeah.
He did?
Yeah. That's what's making this amazing for me.
Oh, this is so awesome. So, yeah, you need to tell Ryan straight up.
Yeah, Ryan.
This is the future.
I'm going to be very aggressive towards the name Ryan now. I'm sorry.
Everyone knows a Ryan. So, what I'm trying to say here is the headphone jack, you're going to be fine, guys. And listen, if it doesn't work out, it's not like Apple is just going to keep its foot down. It listens to people because ultimately, if you want to buy it and you're happy with it, they're going to keep making it. If you're not happy with it, they listen to you, all right? So there's a lot of things that kind of came out in the iPhone 7. The reason why they removed the headphone jack was for a specific reason, and that is this iPhone 7 is very water resistant. I really like this fact.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Amongst other things, it's also dust proof, which is supposed to prevent the elements. I suppose that means dust. Is that correct?
I would assume so.
Okay, so.
Hence the word dust proof.
Yeah, dust proof. It's water resistant, not waterproof.
Yes, that is the one thing that we do want to tell everyone. Yes, it is water resistant up to, I believe it's a meter and 30 minutes up to a meter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so any more than that, it's gonna happen. It's more than likely will get water inside, but as long as it's like a quick splash and something like that, you should be okay. Just don't go pouring champagne over it.
That's the first thing I'm going to do. Don't tell me what to do.
Oh my God, please don't do that.
I'm kidding. I saw that commercial from Samsung. I don't like that guy. Whatever.
Get AppleCare.
No, yes, please, everyone who's listening, AppleCare is very worth it. I've used it multiple times. It's worth every penny. But anyway, yeah, so the things that people complain about, again, it's all wireless. There's no headphone jack, which means it's water resistant. And here's the other thing that people are miffed about, resistant.
I really like that word.
What, miffed?
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just something about it.
because it's like, how you feel, miffed. It's
I
like
feel British when when we say that word, miffed.
miffed. Right. Yeah. For all the people from the UK, we're talking to you. But the other thing that's really interesting to hear people's complaints about is the home button, because apparently it's not a physical button anymore. It mimics the button that you have on the new MacBooks, which is
Correct. It
the
is it's haptic
it's
now.
haptic,
Essentially, that's what they call it.
which is not taptic, right? Haptic and taptic
Correct.
are two different things.
They are two different things. So haptic, the best way to describe this is you feel like you're pressing a physical button.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's nothing being pressed. What happens is the feedback in the button makes you think that you're pushing something in, and then you feel like you're clicking essentially.
Now,
But when the phone is off and you try to click that button, won't move a budge.
that's crazy. Now, the first time I used the new MacBooks, I went to the store and I tried it out. Because on the current, I'm not the current ones, but the older MacBooks,
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to press all four corners of the trackpad, and the bottom two corners are the only thing that clicks because that's the mechanism that's inside that trackpad.
Correct.
On the new MacBooks, you can click anywhere, and it really feels like you're clicking a button. It's black magic, I swear to you. Everyone is listening. It feels like you're clicking, but it's not because when you turn it off and you press, it does not move
Because it's not a physical button.
because it's not a physical button. Now, people that resist, like Ryan,
Yeah, Ryan.
Ryan,
Feel like I'm gonna text him right now and just yell at him for no reason.
he has no idea what's going on. But when I need to try it because I'll never judge something until I actually try it. I don't think that's fair for me to do for anything, for a person, place, or thing.
Sure.
But the people that have reviewed it feel pretty annoyed by it. They like the button, but again, that button doesn't exist because water resistance.
Correct.
So
That was just another avenue for water to get in. So they were just like,
they
"Hey,
removed
we
it.
have this technology in our computers already. Why not bring it over?"
Let's just use it. So it's that synergy that I really enjoy, that Apple has always had, and I'm really excited for this phone. Now, the other thing that I really find interesting, because every year, you know this, Josh, every year they make a new iPhone or they update the current design for the iPhone.
Correct.
Which, by the way, there wasn't a big change. It kind of looks like an iPhone 6
It
from like 2
does.
years ago.
I read a lot of reviews. One specific review, I'm going to shout them out, is from The Verge, which is a very, very great tech website if you haven't been to them. I've been following them from a very, very long time, back when they were working at Engadget.
Oh man, day one.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then they moved
Love
over
those
to The
guys.
Verge. They're awesome.
Yes. Hmm.
But Nilay Patel, who is the editor in chief at The Verge currently, reviewed the iPhone 7, and that was one of the complaints that he did have. He did have a little bit of an issue with the button. So there are people that are kind of like about it, but I think hopefully when I get my hands on one, I'll be able to tell for myself and see, and I'll be able to tell you guys.
Well, I'd say this. Does the button do what the button is supposed to do? Does the button bring me home? It's not like they removed it, because if they removed it, then I would say, um, is there a feature that I can do in order for me to get to the home screen? And if there wasn't, then I'd be like, yeah, this sucks, guys. But ultimately there's a button that's there, but they just don't like how it feels. Is that what everyone's complaining about?
I believe so. I think it's the feel, which is I want to say, these when these tech guys get these phones for review, they have them for about what, like a week. When have you ever bought something where you loved it like from the second you bought it, and you didn't have like a week or a month to get used to it?
Exactly. I'm pretty
So
sure everyone's complaints is going to go by the wayside, and it's going to be the best, most revered phone on the face of the planet.
yeah, it's gonna feel normal after a little
That's what I
bit.
anticipate. It will. And I'd say the last thing, because there's a lot of things that we were supposed to talk about, but we just don't have the time. But the camera. on the iPhone 7 Plus. It's dual cameras.
What's better than one? Two.
Two. I think this is great. I mean, I am super excited. They gave me a lot of different technological terms that is completely over my head. I just have to take that on face value, and it's really where we are now is that we're mimicking where we are for DSLRs. Now, DSLRs, it's a long term that stands for something that is not coming to my mind right now. But essentially, professional photographers are using these high-end DSLR cameras to take professional photos that you see in advertising, that you see in weddings, that you see in portfolios for, headshots for people who, I mean, like for all sorts of things. The iPhone 7 camera, we're starting to make these significant strides up. Now, before I owned an iPhone, I was always kind of struggling with the idea of I have to get a phone and then I need a camera. I use my iPhone camera for everything. So this is a welcome upgrade. I cannot wait for this. And apparently, I know you know of this, or maybe you don't. There is a software update that will allow you to take pictures as if you were using a DSLR, where you can blur the background much more significantly than how you can do currently with the iPhone 6s.
Correct.
I think this is bananas. I cannot wait to see this in action. I cannot wait. I'm excited. The Sony conference, I'm like, whatever. You guys are good. For me, for this iPhone 7 Plus, I cannot wait to get my hands on it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can see myself using this camera for taking pretty awesome photos at people's weddings, stuff like that. I kind of wish I had this camera at my sister's wedding a few years back when she got married. I used back then. What was it? I was using an iPhone 4S.
Oh, man, I remember that camera.
Yeah, and she didn't hire a photographer, and she didn't hire somebody to do video for the wedding. So I took it upon myself. I'm like, all right, all I got is this iPhone 4S, but hey, it does 1080p now. Maybe it'll work out. After I finished editing that thing, looked beautiful. The pictures came out really great. She has a nice wedding video for her to watch whenever she wants now. It came out really, really good.
Gosh.
But had I had this camera, oh my gosh, it would probably look way professional. And I'm horrible at taking photos, by the way. But I feel like with this phone, it would make me take super professional grade photos.
So two things. It's not the camera that you're using, because you can have a point and shoot. But if you know how to compose a shot before you take it, there's this thing that, it's a simple concept. But are you aware of the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio?
Oh, the Fibonacci.
Yes. I studied this concept and how you can apply it to the laws of nature and virtually everything, like mathematics, obviously, but also you can apply it to taking pictures. I went on vacation and I took 3 pictures with the golden ratio in mind, and these are the best pictures I've ever taken in my life.
That's pretty awesome. Have I seen these photos?
I will send it to you. I will send it to you, and you can tell me the difference between Jace walking through amusement parks taking pictures, and then Jace on a mission to take the best picture ever, and then you can just judge for yourself. But the other thing that really frustrates me is, why does Apple choose to release these phones at the end of summer? I'm like, I had a whole summer with my old phone. Back when the iPhone was first released, it used to be a summer release, right? And then you'd get it and you can go on vacation, you take these amazing pictures with this new phone. And then they moved it to the fall, and now it sucks.
Well, see, you get the phone, right? You wait a year, you do your summer stuff, and then oh, hey, we have a new camera for your next summer. So, you can do that.
I wanted for past summer. I had an amazing summer.
Well, you just need to have another amazing summer.
And I will. So let's go through, because I mean, we probably need to wrap this up. But I mean, so we talked about the same design, but there are new colors. There's a jet black and a matte black, and the other colors that exist in the iPhone 6s, right?
Yes, so they're new colors. I'm pretty much looking forward to that jet black color.
I am not looking forward to that jet black because I don't like that scratch. I'm sure mine is going to scratch.
So what he's referring to, everyone, Apple has come out and said, and you can view this on their website. If you choose to get the iPhone 7 in jet black, essentially it's achieved through a precision 9-step anodization and polishing process. What that means is that its shine is pretty nice and shiny, but it'll show nice fine micro abrasions with use.
Mhm.
So their solution essentially is if you're concerned with it, put a case on it. That
Nope.
to me doesn't sound like the best thing in the world.
Nope.
So I might go for
So
the regular black, but the idea of that jet black, oh my god, it'll just look so good.
yeah, it looked good for as soon as you take it out of the box, and then after that, it's Splitsville.
I don't. You
Now,
know what? I don't think it's going to be that bad. Honestly, I
I
think
I
they put it on the website just to say, hey, just in case. But if it turns
no
out
no
to be
no.
fine, it'll
I'm
be
telling
fine.
you, mark my words. At the end of the year, we're gonna talk about this again. We're gonna put a little marker on this, okay, for the
Sure.
December podcast. You have a lot of Apple friends. I have a lot of Apple
Yeah.
friends. We're gonna make a poll on Twitter. We're gonna talk about everybody that has a jet black, how messed up their phones are. Let's put that up.
All right. You know what? How about this? How about I get a jet black and then I'll report like every other podcast how my phone's doing.
Oh, you're gonna put yourself up for this?
I mean, you know what? I might do it just for the listeners. For the listeners.
And you were a brave soul.
And
Let's
and
talk about.
and the only case that I'll put on it because I have a success right now, and ever since the iPhone 4S that I've had a bumper on every phone. So the back is exposed, the front is exposed, but the antenna around the phone that's covered. So
Okay.
I'm more than likely going to get another bumper for this phone. And again, the back's going to be exposed, the front's going to be exposed, but the sides will be perfectly fine. After a year, let's see what happens. And
Okay.
keep in mind, currently with my 6S, there are no scratches. There are tons of smudges from my fingerprints. That's about it. But
Right.
there's no scratches on the display. No scratches on the back, like on the eyesight camera there. Maybe a little bit on the Apple logo, but nothing terrible. The rest is clean. I keep this phone in my pocket with my keys.
Hmm.
So let's see how it does after a year.
You are a brave soul.
Yeah, I'm gonna do
Let's
it.
get to let's get to the second thing, and we're just gonna do this rapid fire here.
Sure.
The performance, which is apparently better battery, which is something that they tout every year. Every year, the new iPhone is the best iPhone that they've ever created, and it is.
It is.
But I mean, we would not that we've seen it before, because once you start using it, you're gonna get all giddy and you're like, oh, it's a new iPhone. Oh, the battery's great, and then 2 years later, the battery is like your previous phone that you had 2 years ago.
Well, sure.
So they say new battery, and it's going to be much more efficient because of the new processor, which is the A10 Fusion.
Which I
Makes
feel
sense.
like, honestly, is the most underrated thing that this phone has. Because that chip, the things that it will do in the future is going to be amazing. And not that many people are talking about this chip. And that kind of saddens me a little bit.
I mean, I can't really get too upset about that because, and only because I can't get excited about a product that developers aren't using. Once I see apps on that phone that utilize that A10 Fusion chip, then I'll be happy as a pig in mud. Until that day, it's just an awesome new thing that I see on the website. That's really what it is for me.
Fair enough.
So, and again, I'm not saying that I'm not excited for. I am excited, but I'm only going to be excited when I use it. That's all. So, number three, new camera, which we talked about. The iPhone 7 Plus has a dual camera. It has a 12 megapixel rear camera. It's 7 megapixels in the front. So all your selfies are
For all them selfies.
all those selfies are going to be super sharp and super clear. Number four, water resistant and dust proof. Again, we went through the entire gamut of all of the people that were resistant. Okay, it's water resistant. You got to give, you got to take. So
Yeah.
They got rid of that headphone jack. That button, that home button that you know affectionately that presses, doesn't press anymore.
Yep.
Audio stereo. So when they removed the headphone jack, they were able to put sound on both sides and the top and the bottom of that phone. So it kind of looks like the iPad Pro now, on how you have like stereo sound on that device. Now I have that, and that's amazing. So I'd love to see how that sounds when we're on the iPhone. It should be a lot louder, I anticipate.
Yeah, definitely. So you got the speaker at the bottom of the phone, and then also your receiver, which is where you hear your phone calls. That's also where the other speaker is. So you're going to be getting it from both sides.
Okay. Hopefully it doesn't blow your ear out when you're on phone calls.
Hopefully, that would suck.
We already talked about the home button. We already talked about the front camera. The audio jack is gone. Wireless. We already talked about that. I am really excited for the AirPods. I think that was the sleeper hit. That was the almost the one last thing that everyone was talking about.
I have a good feeling about the AirPods. I feel like they're going to do well for Apple. However, me personally, I'm still on the fence about getting them for one reason alone. I feel like I'm going to lose those things way too quickly.
You sound like Ryan.
Hey, don't you compare me to Ryan.
I did.
How dare you? Not just, it's because I wear earpods now and they fall out of my ears when I walk around, but thankfully they're on wires. What am I going to do with my AirPods?
I think I need to see how it's going to shake out. I may get the AirPods. I may get the Beats wireless. I wasn't a very big fan of the Beats until recently. But I kind of need to see how it works, because I'm definitely not going to be running with it. So I'm going to be listening to it casually. I'm not going to go running with it like everybody else will be doing and losing it in the middle of the woods. It would be really awesome if there was a Find My AirPod feature.
Oh, that would be pretty
really
cool.
That would be freaking, or it just like makes a audible sound when you're getting nearby, like a beacon. That would be awesome.
Oh, that would be awesome. Oh, why can't... Hey, Apple, if you want to listen to us, you can put Find My AirPods.
Yes. So those are the AirPods. And the last thing, which should have been really the first thing, is the display, which they fix every year. Like, again, they make these incremental updates. So when they talk about it again, I'm like, oh, yay, new display, more colors, brighter, awesome. And it's doing that because of the performance. Like, everything just kind of connects together.
Correct.
So
yeah, but that new display, it's kind of like the iPad Pro again, right? Like where it's a lot more vibrant and a lot more crisp, and it's better tuned to where you are. So like the screen brightness will go up or down depending where you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very excited about that. Like I thought the display on the iPhone 6s was pretty good. This is shaping out to look even better, so that's always welcomed.
So, in closing, out of all the things that mentioned over the battle of the conferences, we had Sony, we had Apple.
Sure.
Sony, are you getting a PS4 Pro?
I am not.
I am not either. Apple, on the other side of the fence, iPhone 7 Plus, iPhone 7. Are you getting one, yes or no?
I will be getting an iPhone 7. Not the Plus, but
Mm.
just the 7.
What about that dual camera?
That dual camera, while as amazing as it looks, I personally don't like the size of the 6 Plus, 6S Plus, and now the 7 Plus.
Nope. I have a 6 Plus. I am a happy camper. Bring it home.
Yeah, that I can't do that 5.5-inch screen.
Now, because you know what it's like? I tell people this all the time. Because every single time I pull on my phone, they're like, oh, it's such a big phone. I said, look, if you lived in the 90s, you had those obnoxiously large phones that used to sit on your wall.
Sure.
If you can hold that and talk on the phone, the iPhone 6 Plus is fine. Trust me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what
I'm
happens.
sure. I'm sure I'll steal your 7 Plus and play with it and see what happens.
Sure, we'll make that happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's all that we have for today. Did we miss anything?
I think we covered most everything.
Okay. Well, that's all we have for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll tell you what, if you like what we had to say, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at Jace Rockland, and Josh?
You can find me at JCA90. You can also find us at FGC Podcast or email us at freshgeekcontext@gmail.com.
You can also visit our website at Fresh Geek Context for past episodes, and a teaser will also be shown for the next episode. And lastly, if you'd like, you can also subscribe to us on iTunes or go to the podcast section, podcast app on your iPhone or iPad and click subscribe. Thanks so much for tuning in. We had a lot to talk about today. We look forward to hearing about your tweets. Please give us feedback if you want us to talk more about one specific subject, if you'd like to make a request for us to do a follow-up, or one of the many things that we love to talk about. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yes, and one last thing actually before we close. I just want to thank everyone that went ahead and subscribed and they're following us on Twitter. Thanks for listening to us.
All right, so we come to a close. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Hasta la pasta.